Okay, ready? All right.
The Health and Human Service Inspector General stated, the fundamental mission for all hospitals is to provide quality patient care. Dr. Kavanaugh and the Emory Eye Clinic performed malpractice, abuse, and fraud on Sargis Houston and 6 other documented patients. Both Kavanaugh and Emory had a blurred vision. They saw egoistic self-interest in place of ethical issues. When fellow physicians tried to blow whistle on Dr. Kavanaugh's irrational behavior, the administration turned a blind eye. They created a racketeering cover-up scheme to hide the crimes, although Emory's mission is to discover the truth. As a physician speaking on behalf of the Standards and Ethics Committee, we recommend a culture of organizational justice that will improve the ethical behavior at Emory. By implementing a principles duty-based culture, we will instill clinical professionals to prevent, discover, and remedy future problems. We also recommend that the current culture be obviously removed. And the reason we need to remove this is because they are damaging patients and also damaging the institution's reputation. We want to replace Dr. Kavanaugh immediately with a new leader. This new leader must be an established champion of ethics. We recommend that the the culture also be replaced as well.
Go ahead, that's okay.
And finally, we believe that our recommendations are needed to improve patient care, because if they are not, you cannot afford another Emory eye patient to wake up blind. Never again.
Thank you, AJ.
Hi.
You're from
the NEOMA business school.
NEOMA,
sorry.
Okay. Give me a second here. Why don't you sort of set the stage for your case?
I'm talking to the employees of Dilete who are invented a treatment for HCV or against HCV. And the problem is that the drug is actually too expensive that people cannot afford to buy it or infect it. So this is the main problem.
So they can't afford the treatment.
Getting the drug.
Right. Okay. And let me do my thing here. Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
In the US, 3.2 million people are infected with HCV. We from Dilete have the curement in our hands. But we are accepting the situation right now of adults, teens, and even kids suffering from the disease daily, fearing death because they can't afford the price we are asking for. I, as a Dilete employee, think that the company owes it to them to implement the USSA plan, which will grant access to more patients. The first step of the plan is forming a strategic and ethical alliance with NGOs, making sure they will provide our drug, our treatment to those teens in need, giving them their life and their future back. Second area of the plan will give more accessibility to underinsured patients. We have to develop a strong relationship with Medicaid for that. Third area of the plan is tackling the problem of the uninsured patients in the US. We have to make sure they know that Dilete is providing them with a payment plan. We have to advertise on it so they can come in and ask us for help. This is how we can and should solve the problem of our drug accessibility. Thank you.
Very good. Stop it.
I already stopped.
Now, you want to set the stage for us?
Sure.
And you're from the University of Washington?
Yes, my name is Kayla Erickson, Foster Business School.
Go ahead.
So is everyone aware of the app Uber? A few nods. It's an app-based rideshare company that has expanded globally, and it uses a lot of information on your phone. And recently there's been a media firestorm about their security practices because although they're a startup company, our argument in our case is that they do not have the infrastructure to provide secure data for their customers. So their customers are at risk right now when they use the product.
Okay.
Great.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not ready.
Here at Uber, we take pride in being the leading rideshare transportation company in the United States. But our data security practices lag far behind the curve, and that's not something that we should be proud of. As you know, we house more sensitive data on our customers than most companies. And with our technology, we are enabled to be able to find out where every customer is at any minute in the day. This information is pretty attractive to cyber criminals. So this risk has some negative business implications, but more importantly, there are some ethical considerations that we have not yet addressed. Uber has a duty to its customers to protect all their data. We must respect our customers' right to personhood, which means honoring their fundamental right to privacy. When Uber exchanges services in exchange for customers' money, both parties come into a business relationship that is founded on trust. And when this bond of trust is broken, that happens because we treated our customers unfairly. But Uber is founded on a very ethical mission, which is through transportation to provide the greatest utility to the most people. Our data security practices currently don't align with that mission, but I'm confident that through a reflection, we can realign our data security practices and use this challenge to be an opportunity to go back to our ethical roots and really use our mission to guide our future actions.
Thank you. Would all of you like to come up? All the team from Mercer and the team from NEOMA?
Come on, guys.
We stand for a while. I can't do it anymore, but you all can. First, I want to thank you for really interesting cases. All of them are interesting. And I thought you did a wonderful job, actually, in presenting it. All three of you did. What did you all think, the ones who didn't present? Were you proud of your teammate?
Yes, very much.
How did you pick the person? What was it? What, did you have to draw straws, or did you say, no, this, AJ could do it, or,
I volunteered.
Oh, you did?
Good, yeah.
Volunteer.
All right.
I would say I drew on the last straw, but...
Well, you all did very, very well, and it's going to make my job extremely difficult. Have you ever seen The Voice?
Yes.
I feel like I'm Adam or somebody trying to make a decision between equally wonderful people who made these presentations. But I want to get the names right, even though I've got the schools right. I know AJ is with Mercer. Tell me again your name at NEOMA.
Nina.
Nina, N-I-N-A?
Yes.
And tell me again.
Yes, Kayla, K-A-Y-L-A.
Well, I'll start with Kayla. I thought you did a very good job in speaking to the committee that was meeting. You made it clear to me that you were an employee and you were trying to make them aware of the ethical issues in the case. And I thought that came out really well and loud and clear, especially in terms of this relationship that Uber had with their customers, and in that relationship, a trust relationship existed. So the security factor needed to be addressed, updated, realigned. I thought that was very good, and I could almost feel myself as a part of the committee saying, you know, I never thought of this ethical aspect, which is something I like very much. AJ, I was with you in the 30-minute presentation, so I was familiar at least with some of the aspects of Dr. Kavanaugh and the eye clinic case, which happened back in the 80s. Do you know if whatever happened to Dr. Kavanaugh?
He actually, he was relieved he left on his own terms from Emory, went to Georgetown, and actually is practicing ophthalmology in Texas.
He went to Georgetown and then on to the University of Texas?
I don't believe it's the University of Texas, but he is in Texas.
Okay.
So he's still performing surgeries today.
He's still performing surgeries. But one of the things I liked about your presentation, which I also liked about it when you presented it yesterday, was bringing up the whole issue of an organizational culture. That's so important, and so many ethical failures happen because of a failure in ethical culture. So focusing on that, I thought was really good. And if I was a member of a committee, I might say, well, you know, I never thought about an ethical culture and that whether that could be the cause of why this tragedy occurred with Dr. Kavanaugh, who, as you put it the other day, almost seemed sociopathic in terms of, you know, changing medical records and doing surgery on healthy eyes and trying to cover it up, and a variety of other rather despicable things. One of the things, and you have 90 seconds, it's very difficult to squeeze much in, was to you know, clarify maybe whether you thought this was a culture problem just within the hospital at Emory, whether it was a culture problem within the university itself, and how that culture problem might be best addressed. You touched on it, but I thought it could have been
more clarifying,
maybe brought out a little stronger, because even in your 30-minute case, I continued to have the issue in my mind as to whether because that was addressed to the Practices and Standards Committee. In this case, it was addressed to a committee. I assume it was the Standards and Practices Committee again, but I didn't know if that was a Standards and Practices Committee of the entire university, or if it was just of the hospital, and if you were talking about the ethical culture just of the hospital, or if that should extend to the entire university. Because in a sense, the entire university was at least complicit in this issue. And even their actions afterwards were not particularly exemplary, to say the least. But aside from those reservations, I thought you did a very good job. Your presentation was clear. Your voice was strong. You know, you did a wonderful job, I think, in communicating to the audience. Did you all feel that way too? I know you're competing, but we can all be friends. Congratulations to both you and Kayla? Kayla, sorry.
No problem.
Nina, let me just look over my notes real quick. Not that you didn't stick in my mind. Now, I like the fact that you had a solution, and Kayla did too, at least the outlines of one. But linking up with NGOs kind of struck in my mind, that may be how to solve this problem of not getting the treatment to patients who needed it. If we could link up with some non-governmental organizations to help provide the avenues for that treatment to be afforded to the patients who needed it, I thought was a big plus in your presentation. You were very poised in your presentation. Where are you from?
Germany.
Okay. It always amazes me. I can barely speak English. And to have someone who, like yourself, who can speak both English and I'm sure German as well.
German's much better. You should speak German. Seriously, you would be amazed.
And I would be equally attracted to your presentation if it were in German. It's just that I wouldn't understand anything except NGO.
NGO, yeah.
Yeah. It's fabulous that you can make a presentation like that in English, even though you're a native German speaker. But you were so poised. It really was wonderful to see that in a young person talking to an audience. All of you, in a sense, were fabulous in that. You had a kind of spark to you too, in terms of feeling relaxed. I felt that you felt relaxed.
I totally didn't, but I can make other people feel that.
But you faked it so well.
Yeah, I'm pretty good figure.
Yeah. And that's what we all have to do sometimes when we're making these kinds of presentations, is to appear that we're not nervous when, our hands are sweating. But you did a great job. The case is very interesting. I didn't get to hear it in the 30-minute presentation, but I want to go back and look at the synopsis of it again, and maybe even take a deeper look into it. Do you have any updates on that case?
Well, they filed a class action suit in February, and they haven't heard back yet. No. So it's lying in the Justice Department somewhere, but I don't think it will go through. Mm-hmm. This is a huge topic, but you can actually follow the media on that. It has a huge media attention right now.
Yeah,
it's a current case.
I'll look into it. I enjoyed your presentation, and it made me want to go and search out some more facts about it.
Pharmaceutical companies are great. I want to work for them after the case.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going in there.
Yeah. What made you select that particular case? Did you all have a reason for selecting that case as opposed to another?
Well, I actually have a general interest in diseases, and the lead was actually talking to the German government about getting the treatment out to Germany, but the Germans were afraid that it's too expensive, and they told them that they will not pay that $84,000 price tag, because it's actually $84,000 for a 12-week treatment. And so they actually scared the Germans to withdraw out of the country, not making that drug affordable, or not giving the access to the German people. And we had this in the media, a huge article about it, and this is how I got to know that there's a company out there who has actually a curement for HCV.
Mm-hmm. So you helped your teammates decide to go with this case?
I bribed them.
All over Europe, this is an upcoming case. All over Europe, this is an upcoming case.
Yeah.
And especially in China, hepatitis C is a disease that is very widespread. So I think this is why we are so interested in this case.
Sure. I mean, just like with AJ's case, well, with all of them too, but I mean, in the case of AJ, it was clearly had medical ethics connections. You know, you're talking about concerns over human life and medical practices with eye surgery. Kayla, what made you and your team select the case you did?
Well, there actually is some concern over human life in this instance as well, because many people have had their physical safety breached being in an Uber car.
Aha.
So that's what really concerned us, is that there have been cases of rape, there have been cases of abuse, because there hasn't been enough regulation around their data. Mm-hmm. So that's what really piqued our interest here, because this really is about consumers' lives.
I hadn't thought of that, but I'm glad you brought that out. So their physical safety is actually threatened when their data is breached.
Right, because especially with the ride-sharing company, somebody can track. If you keep going back to the same place, 102 63rd place, they know that's your home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I see your point. Sure. Well, I haven't the slightest idea at this moment who won and who came in second or anything like that, but I thought all of you did a wonderful job. Regardless of what I finally decided, maybe I'll draw straws myself, you should all feel very proud of the work you did on the cases, so thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, now you can relax and enjoy the banquet tonight and maybe a little bit of New Orleans.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, AJ. Sure. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. My pleasure.